And hi, everyone. This is Scott Harney from Start Guides, introducing the return of Anthony Russell in the Zodiac Lounge. We're very excited about this, Anthony. Very excited to see you again.
Hey, it's great to be back. It's been a while, and we've been going through a lot of changes.
Guides, introducing. Okay, beautiful. And we're excited about your show, and I'm going to turn over the hosting to you right now.
Cool. And I'm just going to start muting I can't mute anybody. All right. If everybody would please mute their mic for the first part of this first part of this broadcast, that would be terrific. And welcome back to the Zodiac Lounge. I haven't been here in such a long time, and I'm really excited to kick off this new year. It's actually Celtic New Year, and there are so many holidays in November, and we're going to be getting into all of them. And then I have an amazing guest who you're going to love, who's going to let us in on her holiday, Diwali. And okay, now I'm admitting people. Okay. Sorry, folks. This can get a little crazy from time to time, but I want to give a special shout out and a great thank you to Scott Harney and esotericguides.nyc for hosting this. That's Scott up there, yo. He's very gracious to do this, and
Hi, everyone.
And I'm really excited for all of us to be here. Sasha wants to know if she can record this, and the answer I think is yes. What do you think, Scott? You cool with that? Do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Just do it. So here we are in November, and there are so many holidays in November that span eons and eons of time. Every civilization had one. We just finished Halloween, and we know that as a commercial holiday with kids and candy and things like that. But the origin of it goes way back. It was actually All Hallows Eve, and the sacred day was today, All Hallows Day. And every celebration in November celebrates the victory of life over death, eternal life. It's about that flame that never goes out. Everything continues to go. We're approaching a season where in ancient times, there was no Con Ed. We had to have a hearth fire going in the winter. There were no fields to till, and many people didn't survive the winter. So this time of year, right after the final harvest, was the time that we got all amped up to kind of make sure that we dragged ourselves across the finish line through the winter until the nicer weather came in the spring, and then we can start planting again and making sure that we were able to sustain ourselves through the next winter. But I do want to go over a couple of other holidays and maybe let you in on some things you may or may not have known. The custom of trick-or-treating on Halloween goes all the way back to Celtic times, Dark Ages, that sort of thing. It was the final harvest. There were 3 harvests. The first one was August 1st. The second one was November 21st. And the final one was October 31st, or All Hallows Eve. And that was the harvest of souls. The first one in August was a harvest of plants and herbs and flowers, teas, things like that. The one in November, November 21st, was called Mabon. It was a time to harvest roots, gourd vegetables, pumpkins, turnips, all of that good stuff. And then the final harvest was the harvest of souls. You separated your breeding stock from the rest of the herd, and then you slaughtered the rest of your herd in a ritual fashion that was very benign because their meat was going to keep you alive. So the idea of life within death and that whole circle of life and how we sustain ourselves came into it. But they also did something very curious. They would leave food off the edge of the town. They would share their harvest with everyone in the village, and then they would leave food just on the outskirts for the outcasts. So these people had food to sustain themselves. And it was also a time where it was said that the veil between the two worlds was very thin, where spirits and ancestors can traffic back and forth, and we can reach them and they can connect to us, which is where all the spooky stuff on Halloween came from. But the trick-or-treating had to do with getting food, sharing our bounty, loving each other, making sure that we were taking care of ourselves and our community throughout the bleak winter months. And also the custom of leaving a lit candle inside of a jack-o'-lantern was a symbol of the fact that this was a festival of fire, and fire was the element that keeps us alive. It cooks food to nourish us, it warms our house, and it also was a beacon to everyone to know that they were welcome in your home and that you would embrace them as family. Um, it also is reflected in the Mexican Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, where the dead are honored. So all of that was yesterday's news on the 31st. Today is All Hallows Day. Now, I was raised Christian. I was raised Roman Catholic. And today is called All Saints Day. So what you pretty much did is you venerated the souls of extraordinary people. You honored their example to set an example for us to live a life of light and love and inclusion with each other. And then tomorrow was called All Souls Day. So we're talking about a 3-day celebration, starting with the immediate, and then extending to the immediate community, and then to those who have passed beyond. So the main function and the common denominator in all of these holidays was food, which is awesome because I'm starving right now and I can't wait to eat later. Um, so I, as you know, I work at a place called Astro West. And, I was just talking about honoring extraordinary souls whose example encourages us to do better than we did, and to open ourselves to embrace everyone lovingly and with compassion. And at Astro West, I met someone who was shopping there who is the embodiment of that kind of soul. I see her smirking and getting a little bashful right now, but I don't care. She's an extraordinary person. And we were talking about many things, including the upcoming festivals. And she educated me very much about Diwali, the Hindu festival of light. It spans 5 days. And it is the acknowledgement, the celebration of the triumph of good over evil, knowledge over ignorance, and light over darkness. So I'm not going to spend all night telling you how fabulous I think she is. I think I'm going to let her tell you herself. So I would like to introduce to you my dear friend, Kamin Soogrim.
Hi,
So,
everyone.
hey,
Anthony, you make me blush.
well,
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am honored to share this space with you and to bring forth a little bit about Diwali, the celebration, and how it ties in perfectly with everything you just said about, people and sharing and food and love and light and bringing harmony into your home and to friends and family and setting aside for other people to come and partake of, perfectly aligned with everything that is happening right now. So I want to say thank you. I am very, very grateful to share this space. I am honored to be part of this. Thank you.
I'm very excited to have you here. And there are a lot of people here who don't know very much about Diwali. So why don't, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about
So
your background.
I was born and raised in the island of Trinidad in the West Indies. I grew up in a home where my dad celebrated Christianity, my mom celebrated Hinduism. So we were a little bit back and forth between both, a little bit of knowledge on Christianity, a little bit on Hinduism. Um, I then migrated to America in my early 20s. I came over to America to live here. And I share a home now with my husband, Hardev, my son Shastri, my daughter-in-law Sasha, and my divine little 3-year-old grandson Sai. And it is, an uphill learning every day when it comes to spirituality and when it comes to meeting divine souls like Anthony. I am honored that I can share who I am and what I know about spirituality, about Diwali, and about bringing awareness into this space.
So tell us from the beginning, for someone who doesn't know anything about it, What is a very broad overview? The preparation, you were telling me that it's 5 days long. On certain days, you have specific obligations to friends or family. Can you explain the structure?
So Diwali is celebrated over a 5-day period. And mostly we understand the day of Diwali. We put most focus on the day of Diwali, where you have cooking of Sattvic or vegetarian food. So it's kind of celebrated in an orthodox manner,
Mhm.
cooking of sweets, making of prasadam, and then worshiping the goddess Lakshmi, who is the giver of wealth and prosperity. So on day one, you have Dhanteras. On day two, you have Choti Diwali. On day three, Diwali day itself, Vishvakarma, and then Bhai Dooj. But growing up in the West Indies, the focus was always solely on the day of Diwali. And I know, like in India and various parts of the world, it is celebrated differently. So if you take, I mean, 3 or 4 different family and you put us together, we'll all have a different version of how we celebrate Diwali. But the main thing to understand is that Diwali is the festival of lights.
We have a question in chat, and this is something I never heard of. It says the powder colors used in Diwali are beautiful. How are they made? First of all, what are the powder colors?
The powder colors are made, so in India, they decorate their spaces. It's called rangolis,
Hmm.
and it's made from rice. So they color the rice and then they create patterns on the floor of the home.
Ah, I've seen that. It's almost like
Yes,
a mandala. Yeah,
right, correct.
yeah.
So, but it's called Rangoli on the day of Diwali.
Uh-huh. So, first day is what do
The
you
first
do?
day is called Dhanteras,
Uh-huh.
and on this day, one prays for health and well-being. So you do your job, your mantra, your meditation, and you bring forth into your space um, a prayer for health and well-being. So you really put it into perspective yourself and your health and your well-being on that very first day of Diwali.
Okay. And then it
And then on the
extends.
second day, it's Choti Diwali. So it's a day where it's called the freeing of the world from terror. And this day you have Lord Krishna, who destroyed the evil person, his evil cousin, the Rakshas. And then you opened up your home where you would go about and give sweets to celebrate the success of the destruction of the evil.
I saw a recipe for those online. It was coconut and it looked like brown sugar and some ghee and some other things. Is that the traditional sweet that you offer?
It's called, so they have several different sweets that they
Okay.
make.
Forgive my
One,
ignorance, but I'm fascinated by
no,
this.
it's of course, yeah. One is called rasgulla. You have kurma. You have laddu. You have barfi, coconut barfi. You have gulab jamun. There's lots of sweets that is made for that day. And again, anywhere you go in the world, the sweets are going to be different, or it's going to be called by different names.
Mhm.
But it's a packaging of a box of sweets and then going out and handing it out and saying, we're celebrating the success of good over evil on that day.
Okay. Yeah.
And
So,
then you have the Diwali day itself.
mhm.
And on Diwali day itself, the festivity is grandeur. I mean, like the top of the top. It's one of the greatest celebration on the face of the earth
And
worldwide.
is that the third day?
The third day, the Diwali
Okay.
day itself. And
Okay.
so you cook all this food, you make all the sweets, and then at night, like around dusk, 6 p.m.
Dealing with your customer? What's that? You dealing with your
No,
customer?
there was
I have
There's
a text
somebody
to
who
respond.
needs
I
to
have
be
2 texts
muted. Okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
okay.
you. Somebody came on unmuted.
Okay, yeah, and so you would start lighting these clay lamps called diyas,
Mhm.
and you would fill it with oil, and then you'll put a wick and you would light that.
Mhm.
And of course, here in New York, the weather doesn't permit us to like put rows and rows and rows of diyas outside. But in India, in the West Indies, and all over the world where weather permits, hundreds of diyas are lit and spread in the home and outside and around the home, where you also have the rangolis happening and all of that. So it's a beautiful, colorful festival on the day of Diwali itself. So the festivities of inviting people like friends and family, non-Hindus, to come and partake of food and sweet and to celebrate love and fellowship and break a meal with someone. That's what Diwali is all about. It's about bringing enlightenment, you know,
So
walking
it's
away
pretty
from,
much like the community embracing each other as I had.
yes,
Yeah,
a
yeah. Okay,
communal
that's cool.
celebration. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
And then you have the Vishvakarman day, the fourth day of Diwali. And this day is observed mostly in the Western states, such as Gujarat. I
Mhm.
don't have a whole lot of what is done on that day, so I wouldn't be able to go in depth as the celebration on that day.
Mhm.
And on the fifth day, we have what is called Bhai Dooj. And what that means is that the brother will go the day after the fourth day to visit his sister. And with the understanding that while visiting his sister, she has this special power to bless him so that he will always have health and wealth and successes in his life. So that's what is called Baiduj, the visit of the brother to the sister's home to check
Okay.
on her well-being.
Now, what if do you also honor, would the brother also honor a sister if she was deceased?
He would, but the thing about Baiduj is of the brother going physically to the sister's
Gotcha.
home, meeting and greeting her,
Mhm.
and sharing a hug and asking about her welfare and is she okay, if everything, the family's okay. Just for a fleeting moment, he'll stay, she'll offer him sweets, and then he'll go back to his home. I am 100% certain if she passes, he can
Mhm.
still honor her in some way
I
or
guess through her
form.
living, through her living
Correct.
family.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, very much so.
Yeah. So okay, somebody just left a comment. It says, in essence, the Festival of Lights is also the Festival of Flavors, beautiful offerings. Exactly.
Exactly so.
Mhm.
Exactly so. And the thing is, for Diwali, in the time of Diwali, when you light all these lights and you look at the flame just flickering and just, always like looking up, it brings such an enlightenment to oneself, and thinking about lighting that light within you first before you can emulate your light of Diwali into your home, into your family, into your neighbors, into your friends and family who comes to visit. It's all about illuminating your internal light first.
That's beautiful. So it's really about making sure that your temple, your personal temple, is clean
Correct.
and smelling beautiful and lit. I just lit my light a few
Beautiful.
days ahead of time, but I have plans. I have
Beautiful.
plans for the 4th because it officially begins on the 4th this year.
Yes.
So it's really about preparing the self, nourishing the self, and then extending that out to include others. And if
Correct.
you can imagine, when everybody's doing that, the light must be brilliant.
Amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's a touching of
Mhm.
from one to the other, but not a physical touching,
Mhm.
but a soul to soul to soul
Right.
connection of lights. Imagine creating a light from me to you and you to someone else, and the extension by far, we
Yeah.
can light and illumine the world the world over, we can do that for.
And the message
So
is just love and nourishment
yes,
and
yes,
inclusion. That's so
of course.
beautiful.
Yes,
Can I share an experience that you and I had? Would you be comfortable with that
of course.
in a session?
Sure, of course.
Okay. I was, Carmen asked me to sit as a medium for her, and a few people came through. I got a great roti recipe from her mom. But the one that impressed me the most, there was an older gentleman in a turban or a headdress, and he was standing behind her with his arms crossed, beaming, big smile. And Carmen had a very long, thin taper, and there were people in front of her, and she was just passing the taper over everyone's head. And as she passed it, she would leave a light over everyone's head. So there was a little flame on everyone that she had put that candle over. And, when you're sitting as a medium, you're getting evidence that is unfamiliar to you. So usually it's something pertinent and specific enough for the person I'm sitting for to validate. And Carmen validated it in the most unusual and beautiful way. Could you share what that was
Yes.
all about for you?
So I remember you saying that he was trying to say something to the effect of Sat Guru, Sat Baba, something. And then it dawned on me and I says, oh my God, I know he's trying to say Sai Baba so I can recognize who he was. And he is a person from my life since I was a very little girl. And he's no other than the late Dr. Shamram Narayan, who has brought forth a lot of education when it came to me growing spiritually, me, my home, my family, and teaching me, along with my brother, Robin Kisoon, who lives in Trinidad as well, and teaching me how to grow spiritually, because I was stuck in a space where I didn't even understand what spirituality is. I thought I belonged to a religion, but after spending many years in this controlled environment as a religion, I walked away knowing nothing.
Mhm.
It's when I stood in my own silence that I realized that I am that I am. I am the soul. I am a spark of divinity. And with the help of the late Dr. Shamram Narayan and my brother Robin Kisoon, when they came and they started to like plug little pieces here and there, and they started to talk about the I am and, soul consciousness and connection to higher realm, I was intrigued. And I was
Mhm.
like, nothing's going to stop me from bringing myself into this higher realm because it's fascinating. And when I did experience it, I mean, it was phenomenal, phenomenal. And I know you told me that this gentleman said that, he's always there with me.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe that because I can always feel his presence. I can always feel him. And even now, I feel like he's here with me, helping me through this process.
Well, the impression that I got was that he was waiting, he was being patient for you to choose your time. Now, I know very, very little about the Indian culture, and I know enough about the Hindu pantheon to be able to honor them. Perhaps not enough to serve them seriously as a priest would, but I have great respect for it. But I have been told, and you can validate this and tell me if it's true or not, that it is unusual for a woman in that culture to step up and to be elevated as a cleric or anything even close to that spiritually. Is that true?
Um, I would say in a very, very long time ago
Hmm.
that a woman growing up in an Indian home was always subdued.
Hmm.
And we were taught as women that our needs is to be a householder. So we would have basic education, we'll go to school, we'll come home, and then we would have to learn to cook and wash and clean because at the end of our school year, we would have to get married and we would have to serve our husbands.
Mhm.
So service to the husband where, you would have to be submissive, you would have to listen to everything they said. And most of the time in homes, women can't even voice their opinion of who they are, what they want to be, and how they want to grow themselves. Because men somehow feels that, okay, if the woman grows, then I would be under her. But the big picture of that really is, if the woman in the home grows, the entire family grows. The
Mhm.
entire family grows. Everyone benefits because the woman in the home is seen as the light of the home. And
Mhm.
if you take away the light from the home, it's darkness.
Ah,
And you don't want to be in darkness. So let the light shine, let the light flow, let the light grow bigger. And then you, the people in the house, are the first ones that's going to experience that love and that light from the female aspect of the home. And in Hinduism, they always speak of the Shiva and the Shakti. So where there's the male figure, there's always the female figure.
right. I was going to bring that up. There's always a
Exactly.
consort to every god. So why
Yes.
weren't human women allowed the same latitude?
Because of the tradition, old
Gotcha.
behaviors
So it's sort
that
of like
men should be
orthodoxy.
dominant.
So it's like an orthodox and then a more relaxed reformed sect that, I mean, I think that's a healthy progress for any organized religion. I've seen it in many.
Correct.
Raised Roman Catholic, it was really gruesome. I mean, you were trained to find a way to be responsible for everything that happened, even if it was
Yes,
something halfway around the world. And
exactly.
then there's the Episcopal faith, which is also Christian, but I mean, to paraphrase it, it's all the glory and none of the guilt. Okay. You're able to celebrate the connection to the divine, the
Right.
light, um,
Exactly.
and everything. I'm looking for somebody because somebody needs their mic muted. Forgive me for being distracted.
No, sure. Of course
Um,
not.
so there is that whole there's two ways to do something, either in a liturgical fashion where you have an authority figure constantly browbeating you, reminding you you have no power. I am the only one. I am the intermediary between you and the Godhead. And then there's the ecstatic religions, the ecstatic spirituality, where you have that one-on-one personal, intimate relationship where you become one with the divine when you put yourself in a place of humility to receive the inspiration.
Correct.
And many of us do it through meditation. Just about every organized religion has very solemn festivals throughout the year where they are able to acknowledge that light. But it's fascinating to me to see that over the centuries, many people have managed to remove themselves from these static, this very structured way where every role must be rigid.
Correct.
Because truly, there is a divine spark in all of us. I know you and I were speaking a few days ago, and I likened it to dropping a ladle of water on the floor, and there's a million drops, and that's all of us.
Correct.
But each drop is part of the same original ladle. So what separates us is ego, and ego is about judgment. And it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary. Should I walk past that dark alley? You need to have a little judgment and you need to be discriminating about it. But when it comes to spiritual work, it's not a question of hoping you can connect. In my work, I find myself in the beginning of every session saying, I hope I connect with a loved one who's going to bring them something pertinent. And that right there is judgment. That's ego. And that has to be transcended. It's about just being empty and ready to receive in the moment. There's no consciousness of
Correct.
identity, no consciousness of judgment of any way. Am I doing well? Are they going to help me do a good job? Um, and that's the kind of enlightenment that I do have to say that we have short conversations when we see each other, and every time you leave, I have that one little drop of light.
Oh, thank
And
you
I hope
so
I do the
much.
same for you. I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
incredible.
The connection is really, really, really beautiful. And like I said, uh, I would go by the store all the time and never really went in. And the moment that I did go into the store and I met Peter first,
Mhm,
and then I was questioning him about the various crystals and what
mhm.
they mean, what they do. And he's like, oh, you have to come back because we have Scott and we have Anthony, and they can really fill you in with all of the good stuff that you want to know. And I was like, interesting. And then when I came in and I met Scott and I met you, like it was an instant connection.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like we
Instant
never didn't
connection.
know each other.
Exactly. And so it is this kind of connection that it's a light connection.
Mhm,
It's your energies and mind connecting at a different level. So we just didn't connect on a physical level.
mhm.
We connected at a super conscious level,
Yeah, a much deeper
a
spiritual
much
level.
deeper. Yes,
Yeah.
because every time we would meet, all we ever speak about is the divine, the
Mhm,
connection, the ancestors. How does it transcend into our everyday life? And then we leave each other sharing something that we take away from.
mhm.
So even
And pass it
becoming more
along.
enlightened. Yeah.
And then we
Yes, for
pass that
sure.
along to others.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I look forward to every moment I have just to run into the store and say hello, hug, virtual hug. How are you guys doing? Like
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
and
Mhm.
and so the message that you and I are trying to bring out here today and to bring to everyone who's listening to us is all about love and light
Mhm.
and fellowship and sharing and caring and enlightenment. And honestly, if everyone who's here and who's listening can understand that that connection can happen for them too, in as much as it happened between you and me and Scott,
Mhm.
that is there for them to explore and to take into their own personal world as well and to open it up,
Absolutely. And to
start
spread it
sharing the light.
around and light
Yes,
up the entire globe.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah.
So, if anyone has any questions for Kamin or me, hopefully not for me, but for Kamin, you can use the raise your hand function in reactions, or if you're shy and you don't want to come on camera, we can do voice only, or you can type it in chat. But I'm just fascinated by this. So, Kamin, for the uninitiated, and for people who want to observe, because I've always found that when something is new, people want to try it out, but they don't want to go too far. So, what is the simplest way? Because this is coming up on the 4th, it starts on Thursday this
Right,
year.
right. So
So,
that's the main day, the Diwali day, this day of the festivity and the cooking and the eating and the
mhm,
becoming one and becoming
yum.
still and right lighting of all the diyas. I know one day you and I have to get together for
Oh, God.
food.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So I think like for someone who's new to Diwali,
Mhm,
um, the simplest way to understand and get in touch with what Diwali is and what it should mean for you individually
mhm,
is sit in a space that you call your space, light a light and focus on that light and go into the stillness, because in that stillness of nothing is where everything occurs.
yes.
In that moment of stillness of nothing
Mhm,
is where everything occurs. So I know for some people it may not resonate, but when you are quiet and you're still and you're silent, and then nothing is up here thinking, that's where manifestation starts happening. That's where everything starts clicking for you. That's where you start saying you feel that connection with
mhm.
God or the consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I try to like when I'm teaching people how to meditate, they're looking, they're there, they have their room set up, they have all their props, their candles, their incense is going, they're sitting in the perfect cardinal place, if they wanted something from the north, south, east, or west, and then they're looking for it. And I say, shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because when you're looking, you're actively using your energy. You're bringing your energy down to our level, and it's a more corporeal level. We're bringing it down to the earth level. Divine energy is a higher vibration.
Right.
So by taking your hands off the wheel, you feel like you're doing nothing, but what you're actually doing is allowing yourself to be found.
Correct.
And then that's when the impressions begin to come. Now, Scott has his hand up, so let's unmute him. Why is there? Hey, Scott, what's up?
Hi,
Hi.
Scott. How are you?
Hi,
Nice to see
Kimi. Hi,
you.
Anthony. Great
Hey.
to see you guys. I just wanted to send my love and say hello. And also, I just wanted to ask, Kimi, I always had a connection with Shiva. So what other ways could I honor him? Is there, yeah.
So the way that we connect, my son also, he loves Shiva as well. And you created a beautiful Japamala for him. Thank you. So the best way to connect to Lord Shiva is to sit still, and you do the mudra. So you place your hand in the mudra. You could place it on your lap, or you could just hold it in front of you. And then you start japping the Shiva mantra. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And you just keep japping that simple mantra over and over and over again. And then I'll tell you, like right in the middle of chanting and going in, you go into this deep, deep, deep trance. And that's when you'll connect to Shiva himself. And he'll bring you the message that you need to get from him. But the simplest way, again, is to find yourself into that space and bring yourself into the space of nothing.
Space of quiet.
That was beautiful.
Nothing. And just bring yourself into the vibrational mood, because we function on vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
And once that vibration starts and you start singing, and you could even dance with it and everything, and your body just goes into the connection, becomes instantaneous.
I would always listen to the chant, but now I'm going to chant with it, and I'm going to shut the chant off and do it myself.
Correct.
You should. And actually, Scott, Thursday night, because my Ganesh and Lakshmi icon is coming for the downstairs space, and it just happens to all be happening on Diwali.
Beautiful.
And also the altar table's coming in. It's like this fabulous thing. We're going to chant to Lakshmi and Ganesh to welcome them into the space. Kamin, you're free to come and check it out. I know that you have family obligations and things like that, but if you just want to see the setup.
Yeah, on Thursday I'm not going to be there, but on Friday I'm definitely going to drop by so I can take a look.
Sure. But what I was saying is that when we resonate vowels and diphthongs, there is something that physically happens to our body that opens up a channel. That's why it's not just about listening to the chant. You have to actually use your voice, bring it from within you, allow your body to vibrate with the vowel sounds. They have to be very specifically pronounced, and diphthongs, which are combinations of consonants and vowels.
Wow, you are awesome, Anthony. Go.
No, I mean, this is what makes it, this is what brings that connection there. So it isn't just surrounding yourself by it. It's by participating, you actually lose yourself. We all start out feeling very self-conscious, but then we have to surrender to the sound.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then
we
don't even realize.
That with Om. When I do Om and Namyo Renge Kyo, those two chants I do personally, and you're right, I do feel a difference when I'm doing the vibration myself. I have more of a connection.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Because when I'm going around the reservoir, I do something to Ganesha. I do Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. And every single, I get about a quarter of the way around, and then something snaps, and I don't even realize that I'm running. I feel like I'm floating.
Yeah,
And then
for
all
sure.
this information comes into me.
Putting in, yes.
So
Yeah.
it's, if I wasn't saying it out loud, I really don't give a damn what the other people in the reservoir think. I mean, they're yelling at me for running without a mask, but I don't want to die.
You know.
But just doing that, and also while you're in motion, when you're ambulatory meditations are very different than sedentary.
Correct.
There's endorphins that are released that just change your consciousness unbelievably. So it's going to be fun. Kamin,
Amazing.
would you like to teach a class in that at some point, or do a session?
Oh, absolutely. If it
Yeah,
presents itself, why not?
sure.
As long as I have you by my side, I think I can
Absolutely.
do anything.
I'll be your
I'm not
training
limiting
wheels.
myself no more.
No,
I
you
have
shouldn't.
my guardian angel with me, and he's already said, go forth and start lighting that light,
Yeah,
So
put
praise
those
unto
lights
him.
over everybody's head.
Yes,
It's just
yes.
amazing. So
Yeah.
that would be a very cool thing. Um, and if somebody's new at it and wants to acknowledge it without getting too deeply into it, should they acknowledge it all 5 nights? And if they should, could they do it like at the same time every night to ritualize it? I mean, what's the least interactive way for the faint of heart? Because some people are
I
afraid to try new things.
yeah, I think that the most auspicious time that they should start this is on
Mm,
Diwali day itself.
mm,
And then they could continue for the next couple of days. And I'm telling you, once you start, you're not going to want to stop. You're not going to want to stop. If you witness and you feel that connection when you're doing your job and your meditation, and
mm,
you're not going to want to stop. So you're not going to limit yourself to a day or 2 or 3. Why don't we just celebrate Diwali 365 days a year?
I'm
Bring
down
the
with
light.
that.
Yeah.
All that
Bring
food?
the light
Yeah,
into our lives every single day. So we don't have to pick a special
right.
day or a special time. You
Mhm,
just light that light every single day. In my home, I light 3 diyas every day.
mhm,
One is for my home, the blessing of my home.
mhm,
One is for the blessing of every single person in this world. And one is for my ancestors that passed.
mhm,
So you can come up with your own idealism of what works for you.
mhm.
Not everything that's going to work for me is going to work for you, or
Right.
vice versa. So we can share tidbits, we can pick up
Mhm.
pieces from each other, but
Yeah.
at the end of it, we all have to come into that space and put together what works for us
Mhm.
as an individual.
Yeah. So it could also be something very simple, where if somebody wants to use Diwali as an excuse or a reason
Right.
to become acclimated to ritualizing or making regular gestures, they
Correct.
can just simply set aside time. And I usually recommend you do it at the same time every day.
Every
This way
day.
you're getting
Yes.
excited as the time is
Yes.
drawing near,
Mhm.
and light a light and focus on that, on lightness and light in the darkness, about enlightenment, about celebration, about nourishing, about caring for yourself. There are so many people who are caretakers that forget to care for
Yes,
themselves.
themselves.
And
Absolutely.
as you stated earlier, Diwali begins with the ritual cleansing, purification, and celebration of the self.
Yes. Yes,
And then
absolutely.
that is what's able to be extended
Of course.
to
When you're
everyone else.
flying, when you're flying and they start their to give you all the rules of the flying, and they
Mhm,
says, when the mask fall, put yours on first
mhm.
before you attempt to help someone else.
Right.
So if
Huh.
we are not in a place where we are light energy
Mhm,
and we are connected soul to soul in that realm of connections,
mhm.
then we cannot bring that to someone else because we don't know it ourselves. So if we try to bring it forth to someone else, they're not going to have the benefits of it. But if we would align ourselves and we would come into that space of enlightenment, then our light is going to start distributing or touch each person that we comes in connection with.
Exactly. Exactly. And
So
sometimes all it takes is eye contact. If your light is lit
correct.
within, and you keep it there, and you just remind yourself that it will remain lit as you go through your mundane day,
Yeah.
traveling to work, dealing with whatever you have to deal with. As long as you remember that that light is lit, it's going to touch someone.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Definitely.
that's,
And
yeah,
we've experienced it. We've seen it, you know.
absolutely.
So what we're bringing forth here in this forum is not something that's far-fetched, or it's not something that one cannot materialize for themselves or their home or their family.
Mhm.
It's all within our reach and our grasp. It's how fast we want to get there is the key to yearning.
Yeah. And there's no race. You don't need to finish first, second, or third. You don't need to
Correct.
win
Correct.
place or show. You don't even have to pass the finish line. But what you have to do is start the journey.
Absolutely.
Commit yourself to the journey, to moving within that light, to
Absolutely.
realizing that you're able to bring joy, to bring comfort, to bring everything that someone needs just with a glance, a smile, a kind word.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Perfectly said. Very
So now
well
we
said.
have 5 days to acknowledge that and celebrate it and carry it through the year. Because it's very interesting too that all of the November holidays precede Yule, which is December 21st, which is the day that the Earth tips on its axis, and we actually start moving back toward the sun. So
Mm,
it's like that home stretch
right,
because we're
correct.
in the darkness now. So we're not we're away from the sun. Um, Somebody needs to light something. It might as well be us, and
That's
light it
right.
within your heart so that when the big light comes back, we will have sustained all of that access to enlightenment, all of that access to compassion, to joy, to celebration, and to
Absolutely.
sharing.
Yes. Sharing, the key word.
Yeah. So does anyone have any questions about anything we spoke about or questions for Kamin or myself? You can raise your hand, you can put it in chat, and we can continue talking about these wonderful things. Um, I'm personally going to be doing two celebrations, one at the business and one at home,
Yay, I'm
because
excited.
I'm coming out of darkness, personal darkness myself. There's a process I've been going through for a little over a year now, and I finally believe that the light at the end of the tunnel is not the headlight of an oncoming train again. It's truly a rebirth into the light, and we have to plunge into darkness in order to be balanced and
Mm,
humbled and then emerge more pragmatically. And it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is really about taking the light and making sure that it remains in this period of darkness, this acknowledgement of Diwali. And I'm seeing something in chat. It says Kamin's brother here would like to share with her. So, okay, so that's Robin's iPhone. Let me find you. And where are we? Okay. Yes, I would, but I can't find you. Wait,
He's lost.
no.
I am here. I'm here. Can you
Okay.
see
Oh,
me?
there you are. Okay, great. Okay. Hi.
Hi, come in. How are you?
Hello. Hi, what's up?
I
Nice
am
to
great.
see you here. Thank you for
Yeah,
for staying on with me and supporting me. I
yes,
appreciate it.
yes. I tried to raise my hand, and then my phone went dead, and I
Ah,
had
Oh,
to put it to recharge and then come back on. So I'm
oh,
happy to have been from the start of this, listening to you, coming, sharing such words of wisdom to everyone. You know, this spiritual journey that we have been started way back, and it kept us as a family very if we can say very like a closely knitted family,
mhm.
where we share the pain, we share the sorrow, but we also share the successes and the joy,
Yeah.
and that brought about immense joy to every member of our family. And as such, the level of transformation as souls that we were seeking as we were growing up together as a family. I just wanted to add something, and if Carmen don't mind, from my own journey about the movement from the darkness to the light. I want to share that all of us go through this transformation on a daily basis. And if we can just put this in the simplest of forms, it will help us to create even more transformation. And I would even be bold enough to say that each one of us can express ourselves and experience ourselves as the God that we always were, but never knew. And you might think that it is very difficult to do this, but I'll use a very simple explanation, and maybe this will put some light to what Kamin was saying. All of us, we are born, if I can use the word neutral, meaning that there are no good, no bad, no right or wrong, no win or lose, no evil or God, just neutral. And in that state of neutrality, we had zero ego. So we were born with zero ego in that state of neutrality. And as we grow, the family, the friends, the society, the environment, our teachers, whatever, religious, otherwise, they start helping us to grow what we call our ego side. Because this is where we start to learn about this is mine, my car, my house, my father, my sister, my mother. I am better than you. I do better than you, whatever it is. So the two sides of us is the ego side and the God side. But what happens with most of us, the ego side keeps us trapped in fear. It's because the ego is the fear. And the God side is what we call love. And because we as neutral here, if we go more into fear, we are going more into ego. But we are really going more into what we call the darkness of the soul, the darkness of God itself, where we start moving from God as light and love and moving into God as an ego God. If that makes sense to people, where you can actually go more and more ego, and where the ego completely wins, and you now start to live and experience your life from that place of the ego. So your realities become one that is filled with hurt, pain, suffering, loss, sickness, disease, that kind of thing. But if you start now choosing God, which is the light, you start saying yes, like Kamin was saying, yes to the light. I'm lighting a lamp. I'm learning to love. I'm learning to share. I'm learning to care. You start saying yes to God now, and you start saying no to the ego. So the less you start going into the ego is the more you start going into God. So you'll go more God, less ego. More and more God, less and less ego. More and more light, less and less darkness, if that makes sense. Until you start going fully into the light. And when you become the light, that's when you become your true self, which is your God self. And as you become your God self, you start experiencing a new reality, a reality that is now built in love. Then the body heals itself, the mind heals itself, the soul heals itself, because now you are the living light. You have become the light. You are the love. You experience the joy and the peace that Kamin was talking about. So all I have to say here is that, listening to you, Kamin, it brought me such joy that, I could never say that this day I thought would come when we would speak together here and feel the love, share the love, experience the love that we have lived our life searching for, but we have finally found it. And we are now one in that place of peace, joy, happiness, and love. And I want to express my greatest gratitude to you as a sister for being there throughout the most trying times, but continuing to stay and believing that we can do it. And
of course,
we are here
love
today.
You very much. Thank you for the message. I appreciate it.
I want to thank everyone for allowing me the space to share these moments and to say that it is with the greatest joy and the most intense love that I know as God's love, unconditional love, that I am here with all of you, loving this moment and sharing. And I say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I have to say that I was touched by the love you just expressed to your sister, and I'm sure everyone here was too. And this is exactly what we were saying about sharing that light, and just it's infectious.
Yes.
Because we felt the love in your words. We felt the sincerity in your heart. And it's interesting, you use the words about ego and fear. I have this philosophy that it's too easy to be seduced by our own creation of ourselves, by our ego. And it's sort of like the Wizard of Oz. We imagine that we are this all-powerful wizard, but what we really are is the man behind the curtain who's running it all, and we have to realize that part of it, and then we become one with everyone around us. But if Jacqueline Christina is still on, if she just didn't walk away from her camera and have her image on, there was something she said to me this morning in session. There you are. And you made a remark, and I said that I was going to ask you to come on the air if it was pertinent. And you said something very similar to what Kamin's brother just said about ego and fear and release. Do you remember that quote
I
that you?
do. I do.
Okay.
And this was something I read in a book over the weekend, and it reminded me of a lot of the things that Anthony talks about and shares. And he immediately popped into my head, and it reflects a lot of the personal conversations that Anthony and I have. And the character in the book is coming to the end of their current journey or lifetime, and it says when you're let's see the exact line. This was the moment that revealed how you had walked through the world with kindness or with fear, with your heart open or closed.
So that is really what it is. Our ego keeps our heart closed.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
A choice we
And
have to make.
And it takes courage to be kind.
Sure does.
Definitely.
When you're coming from that place, it's the courage to bring it to people who might not be willing to receive it. And I portend that when we have these meetings, we have this one moment to share information, and the unconscious always hears. I know that for a fact, but we don't have any control over whether someone hears it or acts upon it or not. But if we give it with complete honesty and with all of our love, they are going to be touched by it. They are going to carry it. And it is going to extend that light, put that light in extension, and continue to light and bring people into a state of harmony. Because we're living in a very divisive society. No more now than it's been in the past. It's just different flavors. And that is, those are the people that are looking to develop your ego and get us to separate ourselves from each other. But we all have it within us. And all we have to do is find it there, nurture it there, and you can't help but share it. So it's just a question of keeping that light lit. We should be wrapping up by now. So if anybody has any more questions, either put them in chat or you can use the raise hand function. But we should be wrapping. We're coming up on an hour, but I would love to ask Kamin to leave us with some parting thoughts. Light our lights. Just do
Most
this.
definitely. First of all, gratitude to you, Anthony, for allowing me this space once again and for allowing me to share the links with family and friends. I have a lot of family and friends who's actually logged in and listening to us trying to create love and light and fellowship and to share our light out into the world. I would say that it is important for us to understand that we are all individuals. So we need to step out of the box. We need to light and illuminate the light within ourselves so that we can now go and we can start sharing messages. So what Anthony and I are doing is not limited. All of you can jump in and you can be part of this and you can share your experience. You can bring forth things that we can walk away with and we can put in our everyday life. So don't be afraid to Walk out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. But most of all, understand that you are you. And at the end of it, when you say, I am that I am. I am the light. I am the love. I am the enlightenment. I am the consciousness. And let's touch each other in that way, in that form, nothing else but in the love and the light of the consciousness. Thank you, Anthony. I
Thank you.
appreciate you very much.
Thank you all for coming, and Kamin and family, your lovely family who's here, and everybody who's here on this broadcast. May every light you see this coming year bring you joy, prosperity, and happiness.
Love and light.
See you next time on the Zodiac Lounge. I don't know when it will be, but you will get an email. So thank you again for coming. I loved hearing what Kamin had to share with us, and I'm sure you all did too. So on that note, we will end and have a wonderful Festival of Lights.
Bye, everyone.